By now, nearly everyone in education has heard of the science of reading. And for good reason. We want to ground what we do in what works, not just good intentions, good ideas, or the old guess and hope method. But here's the thing. While teachers have been sold a story, we as leaders, yes, I'm talking about principals, curriculum directors, district leaders, and superintendents, we're being sold a story of our own. And it's time we talk about that. That's why I am officially launching the Science of Leading movement. So, who am I? My name's Joan Schumann, and like many of you, I've dedicated my life to education. I spent a little more than a decade in various classroom settings and a decade in leadership positions. And anyone who has worked with me can admit that we've done some really great work that has led to awesome outcomes for kids. But I in particular, definitely could have done it better. And here's another thing people might tell you. I have a solid understanding of things like evidence-based instruction and how to use assessment to guide decision making, and even how to set up sustainable systems of support or MTSS. But you know what I'm not an expert in? Implementation science. I was like one of those stellar teachers that loved teaching reading, and when she found out about science of reading, kind of rocked her world. Yeah, it was the same for me with the science of leading. Taking on too many initiatives was sort of the name of my game. And things like that can lead to teacher turnover, staff burnout, culture wars. It should have been on, let's make sure we're going to meet everybody's needs before we put this initiative into place. Allow me to highlight this point with a small story. A couple of years ago, I took a big team up to Seattle for a training. It was primarily on MTSS, but it had a little spin on it, implementation science. And I had sat through a keynote address on this topic before, and I kind of generally knew what it was about. But like I said, this isn't my area of expertise. So when we were sitting there as a team and we were on the MTSS portion, we were like, yeah, sweet, we've got this, lots to be proud about. Like, why are we even at this training? But then when the conversation shifted to the research on how to roll out things like MTSS effectively, that's when I realized I had missed something big. The science on how to lead change effectively in schools. And that's the part that makes or breaks everything. So here's the hard truth, admin. We spend a lot of time making sure that teachers are using evidence-based practices, the science of reading, universal design for learning, PLCs, English language supports, all very important pieces, right? But guess what? We have not done this to the best of our ability because we haven't applied the science of leading change. Think about your own admin prep program. How much time did you really spend on the research behind implementation and sustainable change in schools? Probably very little. We got examples. We got thought leadership. We got Simon Sinek's why, what, how model. But did we actually dig into the research and what it says about implementing these brilliant new ideas into a staff full of, like human beings who, by the way, all have different skill sets and attitudes about the change you're about to put in place? So I want to go back to that science of reading parallel because it's the same thing. Teachers were just doing the best they could with what they knew. And then science showed us there's a better way. In fact, science actually was always there. We just didn't have the awareness or access to it. And so I'm calling it. It's our turn now, leaders, because it's time we stop sitting around and talking about teachers not putting into practice what we know works best when we aren't doing the same thing. So if we don't start practicing what we preach, nothing will change. Here's my ask. If you're a principal, a superintendent, a curriculum director, or a teacher, really tired of being overwhelmed with too many initiatives, or leaders buying something and then expecting you to implement it perfectly like the next month. We have to start this conversation. So please like and share this video. With technology, this can be a movement that's launched in a week. And I'm willing to do my part, even though, by the way, I'm not a YouTuber. In fact, this is my first video, like ever, but it's how strongly I feel about this topic. And I want to be clear, I am not an expert in the science of leading, as we, of course, are now calling it, but I am here to learn alongside you. and I'm here to share what I'm reading, break down the research, and I do have the privilege of knowing people who are experts in this area, so I can try to get them to come and talk to us. I can bring in some colleagues or perhaps some of you who have walked down this road and didn't get it right. Because just like we expect teachers to share what we're struggling with and do better, it's time that leaders do the same thing. So whether there's 20 of us or there's 2,000, let's start this thing called the science of leading. Let's finally ground our school and district leadership in the same kind of science we expect from our teachers. Because when we're all working together and leveraging the power of science, every student in America will have the chance to thrive in amazing schools.